So I'm about to put the mufflers back on. So this is the muffler that came off. And this is on the right side. In the United States, you're going to have a hard time finding this style of muffler. What I don't like about how this mounts is you look at the direction of the exhaust. It's facing down towards the gas tank. So what I'm going to try to do, and I know that little port should be on the outside, I'm going to switch that around if I can, so that exhaust, even though it's directed down, it's further away. And then once I put the rest of the exhaust on, once I slide that on, it'll be well below the cap of the actual gas tank. I don't want this thing igniting the gas in the engine while I'm flying. Mounting bolts that come with the mufflers versus the M5 30mm that you'll want to. So before you install the muffler, especially after it came off, make sure that you sand this down. So I used some emery cloth to get all the old gasket off. Another thing I want to show you is you're going to want to run that bolt head out and put a little thread locker on it before you run it down. You're also going to make... So you'll want to sand this part down as well, especially if it had a gasket on it, and make sure it's nice and clean, nice and flush. Put something down in this port so that you don't get sand and dirt down in there when you clean that off. And be real careful when you pull that back out, because again, you don't want that on your piston scratching up your head and causing extra friction. Okay, if you're trying to decide which muffler to buy and you see that there's a 1-hole versus 2-hole, what they're talking about is the bolt holes. So you can see that this one has one bolt hole that you can access from the outside, and the other one you have to take your Allen wrench and go to the inside. Now these have specific bolts that are kind of cone shaped that fit down in there. So you're gonna wanna use the bolts that came with it, but they do extend much further than the ones that the M520 that I showed you earlier. Now, this makes me nervous. So you put that on after the fact, it slides up on, you put that clamp, but that's gonna give me something to put that aircraft wire to secure it to kind of tether it down. But what makes me nervous is the exhaust is coming out of here. What happens if I get a big flame, a big backfire that close to my fuel source? That makes me nervous. I had a really hard time trying to find these mufflers. Now this has a 2-bolt hole pattern, and you're going to have a right and left for not only this model, but a right and left for this one. And I think I showed you that in another video. This part on the right side is moved up, and on the one that goes on the left, it's moved back.